didn't even ask if you were ready.
Oh, you good? Let's get it.
Right, welcome back to the channel. We have finally made it. This should be the last one, Brandon, and then you're free. You can run off and do all the gaming that you need to do. Um, so we've finished your profile, I believe,
Yes, sir. Yup.
and this is it. So, whew, it's
You're
been
holding me
a
up, man. You're holding me up. Avowed's waiting on me. You got me held
oh,
hostage.
it's worth the wait, trust me, because we get to talk about Toe Jam and Earl back in the roof. Oh my God, did you ever play that?
No,
So even though that's only 18 minutes, that is some of the funniest 18 minutes of my life because I had no idea that it was getting ported to Xbox. I had no idea other than the name of the game, like it existed. I didn't know like what it was. And
Yeah,
me and a friend saw it launch at like midnight. It was like, that's kind of funny. Toe Jam and Earl
yeah.
has co-op. I don't know what on earth this game is. That is 18 minutes of the most confused state I've ever been in my life. We still don't know what the hell was going on the whole time. It's like I don't know what genre this is. I don't know what on earth you're doing. I don't like just from top to bottom, it was the most baffling experience. And as you can see, 0.5. We didn't enjoy it in the slightest.
That is hilarious.
Oh. But boy, does it get the numbers jump up here
Yeah, I'm
with
actually trying to enlarge the.
ooh,
Let's see. No, it's fine. You're fine. I can see it.
okay,
Oh, never mind. I got it. I got it. I can enlarge it. There we go. Cool.
okay. And you can see everything, the names
Yeah.
perfect. Um, so yeah, I'm not really an MMO person, but Warframe did suck me in for almost 400 hours. Um, it's not something I'll ever go back to. It's it's something that I began to learn very quickly is that this is roughly the time. Ah, no, this was 2019. So maybe 2018, 17 is when I kind of like seriously started putting down multiplayer games because I found that, that's like a prime example. 400 hours.
It's
Don't get
10
me wrong,
games that
it's
are 40
fun.
hours.
Exactly. That eats so much time. But I still do dabble in Rocket League. It's just an addiction.
Yeah, I'm
It
the
can't
same
be
way,
stopped.
man. Where like I would look at my NBA 2K hours and be like, "Oh, 500 hours in NBA 2K22, 500 hours in NBA 2K23," which was actually more like NBA 2K13 to probably like actually probably NBA 2K11 to maybe like 18, where it was like 300, 500 hours every single year. It's like, well, yeah, that's a lot of games you could have knocked off in that time period.
Yeah, and this is probably the biggest culprit.
1,283 hours.
Put it into perspective, right? That's the day of release. That's when the servers shut down, basically.
Damn. So like a little over a year.
And
Or well,
1,200 hours into that. It had a absurd hold over me. I was so invested in Gwen, and because I think I've said this before, I was so close. If I wasn't on console and had a PC at the time, it probably would have motivated me to even try harder and probably break out properly
right.
and become a
Try to
pro.
make some money, yeah.
Yeah, but just wasn't meant to be. They canned that console version real damn quick and broke my heart. But I think that's also it's one of them things where it's a double-edged thing. Like it hurts that they did that, but at the same time, I'm so much more productive now in doing other stuff that had such a ridiculous hold over me.
Are people making good money doing it now? Or like still? Or not
I
really?
think it's slowed down considerably. Back then, they they basically hooked one of the biggest Hearthstone players over to Gwent. and kind of use that attraction to have a massive
Let's
prize
see.
pool. And then it's kind of a weird thing. Or a lot of these games are kind of meh, so I can kind of sit here spending a little bit more time on Gwent. Gwent is one of the weirdest games from a community perspective because everybody knew everybody when that game was in early access. Every single content creator knew who each other was because it was almost like they were back at college and
Mm.
stuff. They went and room shared together. Like you're talking fully grown men in their 30s and stuff, all being just connected to this game, going to these, being flown out to Poland for these Gwent Opens and stuff, and sharing like rooms together. And they were all friends. And then things began to sour a little bit. There was
Oh wow.
a content creator that called out one of the devs like really, really badly to the point where it's like, all right, man, that's a bit much. And that's when once that happens, it ruins it for everybody because CDPR was so it was almost a friendship between it was a triangle friendship of content creator, CDPR, and then the players.
Mm.
And then the moment that that guy did that, it just made the whole house of cards crumbling down. Because I remember there being they would joke like you what we was talking about off the camera and stuff, where you'd be able to say a joke and it not get blown out of proportion. And a content creator did like a tiny little animated video where they edited it in and it was all funny. And they would have laughed at that 6 months ago. They DMCA'd the person, asked him to take it down, asked him to never do that again.
Jesus.
And it was that kind of thing where it was like you've burnt that trust. They can't do that anymore. And
Was
it
it
kind
like, did it become a thing where they were trying to limit the jokes because of professional reasons, or
I can't say what he said
right?
because it would strike this video down, but it was the type of thing where it's like, dude, what are you doing? He just ranted on Twitch for a bunch of hours and then that kind of just made everything come crumbling down. It was the kind of thing where they couldn't interact with you on a friendly level between CDPR and the content creator.
Hmm.
It had to be professional from that moment onward because you burnt that trust.
Oh, okay. So you're saying he said some like really wild
Yeah,
shit. Oh, okay.
yeah.
I thought you were saying the
Derogatory,
other
like
way,
crazy. No,
like racist type shit, or
it wasn't racist. It was probably bordering on like homophobic. Is probably what that would fall
okay.
into. And it was just like, all right, man, let's can we not? We're not like beyond this at this point in history. The hell
Now
is wrong with you?
I'm so curious. Like I'm like I'm like what? I wonder. I'm trying to figure out what. So because I was thinking you were saying it was the company who got overly
No, they had to
professional
do that.
about things. They had to clean
They
it up. I
had to. They
got
were
you.
backed into that corner because of that, and then that kind of crumbled the sour,
Hmm.
and then the content creators kind of turned on each other. And then
Gotcha. Okay,
even
now I
worse
see.
was that it then you start people's skeletons start coming out of their closet, and like there was some really bad apples in that content creation thing, and it was just like Jesus Christ, can this like get any worse? So it's I wouldn't say it's dead. They still support the game, but it's nowhere near what it was.
It's so
That
wild
it
to
burned so
like,
quick.
yeah. It's so wild that like anytime anything takes off, it almost inevitably crumbles. And anything that's like online community driven, it's almost always due to some kind of nefarious players, some people who have some shady pasts. And yeah, I don't know. There's a part of me where it's like I wonder whenever we're all gonna realize that like any time that you do a deep dive into anybody, you're gonna find some shit that is
Mm,
like you know what I mean? It's nobody has a clean, nobody's closet is completely clean. But then it comes down to like how dirty is it really, you
yeah.
know? And I guess that's the
And unfortunately, I can name drop him. He's off the fit. It was Swim. His name was. He wasn't the one that burned everything down, but that was kind of like that final cherry on top. He
You
was
see,
one of the.
I don't know any of these people whatsoever, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to do like a full. I'm gonna do an investigative deep dive whenever we hop off here.
and
I That shit's fascinating.
his skeletons came out with stuff which you can obviously find out on your own, and it
Mm.
was really unfortunate because he was one of the more you wouldn't have expected that. It was that kind of like, man, that's a gut punch kind of thing.
So we're fully off the rails already. So I'm assuming he was like actually being hateful to people in those communities, like he was actually saying derogatory things to them, or was it like, did he use a word but was like talking to one of his friends? Like, was he
No,
talking to?
it was the guy that did the derogatory thing was doing a rant on basically a patch came out and they were unhappy with it, and then that kind of spiral. The guy, this isn't Swim by the way, this is somebody else.
Okay.
He jumped onto Twitch, gave his thoughts on the patch, and then he just spiraled. It was that kind of thing of where you're interacting with your Twitch chat and it just gets out of hand, and you
Mm,
have that thing where you diverge in the path of like, all right, I'm gonna kind of like keep my emotions in check here, and he just full sent it,
oh
and just
Jesus.
absolutely, and it was just like, okay, yeah, that's doing that, and then with Swim, it was unfortunately uh rape allegations, I believe,
Oh,
and it's just like, man, you guys really ruined it, huh? This, so yeah,
yeah. That's I I I hate to, you know, belabor the point, but it is like it seems so every single time. It is so wild how it's like every single time something pops off, it's immediate. The immediate follow up is, oh, and about that, here are a laundry list of things. And it's like, well, shit. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. There goes all the hype for that.
So yeah, if you do get like a spell like owl, that is something that you a rabbit hole that you'd want to go down. Because I can't remember who did the derogatory. I can't remember what his name was. He wasn't somebody I actually watched at all
Right.
because he was a little bit. He in even his in normal demeanor was aggressive and stuff, and it's just not something that I'd want to sit there and listen to somebody do while playing a card game.
It is fascinating. I mean, not to make light of horrible shit, but like I watched here we go. I watched a do you know that Army Hammer dude that was like accused of being a cannibal?
No.
It's some crazy shit. So there was a documentary that came out about his, well, it was supposed to be, I thought it was going to be about him, about the Army Hammer guy who was like a famous actor.
No.
And I think he was on like, I don't know if it was Game of Thrones, it was some like fantasy kind of thing. Big, hot, handsome dude. And this documentary came out about him, and I was thinking it was going to be like exposing that he's actually a cannibal and he's actually doing all these crazy things, and because that was kind of how they marketed it and how they built up to it. But honestly, what ended up happening in the documentary was almost more fascinating than even that, where they like shined a light on his family history, and his entire family would like pretty much ran the government in the United States. They were like multi-billionaires, like some of the first billionaires in the world. And but
Yeah.
like generationally, all of these dudes were like pretty fucking out there with the way that they treated women. And it was just like a, oh damn, you don't come away from it sympathetic for Army Hammer or whatever, but you are like, God, dog, imagine, having those genetics just being like passed down the line. And
I mean,
I
it's
don't
not
know.
even just genetics though. It's also just being in that like upbringing.
Yeah,
Because that's
thinking you
like I
can get
get like some
everything.
people turn around and say like you can't blame parents or whatever, but like if they keep you enclosed in that like environment as it were, that heavily dictates how you're gonna grow up
Totally.
and how you're gonna like respond and how you react and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, your
Being
upbringing
rich
is
isn't
everything.
always good.
Oh God, no. Yeah, your upbringing is everything. It was just, anywho, the whole spiel there is just like I was just saying, like it is unbelievably fascinating to uh like certain shit spiraling out of control.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it's like the thing of watching a car wreck.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It is hard to take your eyes off of it.
Yep. Absolutely. And we in the usual fashion have grinded to a halt at the halfway point of the page. Um yeah, FIFA 19, the you're a much more like in the sports person. I think this is the last one that I dumped hours into. I kind of switched off after that.
Yeah, I'm not a FIFA guy at all. I've
Mm.
never played any of the FIFA games.
No, but I meant like Maddens and stuff. Like I don't
Yeah.
do the yearly releases anymore. I've kind of other than Football Manager, but that's so different.
Yeah, I think I might be out on the yearly stuff as well at this point. It just, yeah. I didn't buy Madden last year. I played it on Game Pass. They had the little trial through EA
Hmm.
Play that you could do, but it's just, man, it's just, it's something. It's a lot of the same shit.
Yep, unfortunately is. Because you asked me about Kane and Lynch. Kane and Lynch 2, end up rating it 3.5. It's such a goofy co-op game. Because I think you asked me about Kane and Lynch 1,
Yep.
and it's definitely like a more different tone. It's still within that same tone, but with them going so heavy into the co-op, it's so bizarre. Divinity, just under 100 hours for Divinity 2. Absolutely love it.
It's weird how
Um,
some of them don't have the hour count. And like
so
even games you would,
these are 360 games, so they won't ever have an hour count.
but even like Mafia 3,
But
it's like,
yeah,
that's
Mafia
so
3,
weird.
I have no idea why that doesn't.
Damn, you dropped
Uh,
that one a 3 star, huh? That open world does kind of
yeah,
suck.
it's because I think that freestyle was dropped around about the release. I never amended it. It was so buggy in
Yeah.
2016. It was so bad.
And it is
Um,
kind of boring. The story is incredible, but like the actual activities in the game are kind of boring. Like taking over um like the warehouses and all that.
yeah, very repetitive. The
Yeah.
DLCs are what saves it though, if you haven't played them.
I haven't.
Because you have the CIA guy in the story, whatever his name
Oh
was.
shit.
You
Yeah.
have a CIA DLC with him.
Where you play
Really,
as him?
you don't play as him, you partner up with him,
Okay.
and it gives like more context, backstory on that. And there was another one. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on it, but they were good, high quality DLCs. They were a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, it kind of does bum me out that 360 games don't have timestamps, kind of things.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know how much time I put into Human Revolution.
Right. Yeah. I'm assuming. But the cool thing about those Deus Ex games is you can play them for 20 hours and like finish the story, be totally fine on your way on to the next game, or you can put 50, 60 hours into it, 100% in. Like they're 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 not time sinks in the way that something like a let's see, I don't see nothing like an Assassin's Creed.
For you, maybe. um, I would probably say about 80 hours I've put into Human Revolution, and it will be breaching past the 100 hours because I want 100% of it. And
But how for the
so
80 hours?
so I do. So 2014 is when I started it. So I did my initial playthrough and just played it the way I wanted to play it. And then when I'm going back for achievements, I then do like a pacifist playthrough,
Okay, there you go.
no alarm playthrough, and stuff like that. And then finding all the collectibles. And I don't know, sometimes I do get a bit like either distracted or when you get into like a section, it's like, damn, I've kind of like backed myself into a corner here. So I have had like two attempts go that way, where it's like, man, there's not really any way out of this. And you have to kind of like start the playthrough again. So that's probably why.
But it is cool though. Like I miss that era of RPG where it's like that Mass Effect, Alpha
Mm,
Protocol, games like that where you can pop in and finish in 20 hours and like feel totally satisfied with it. And then like you said, for people who want to go in and 100% it, there's a lot more to do. Um, yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
there's not enough role-playing games that really respect the player's time anymore.
No, because like even seeing this,
Right.
excuse me, South Park. That's like it's basically a JRPG.
Right.
Yet they've compacted that down into basically 15 hours. Like credit to them, man. That's
So
really
awesome.
impressive because it doesn't
Absolutely.
feel underweight in anything that it does either. So kudos. And then you have Wasteland too,
Absolutely.
60 hours. And that was
Which
one
even that,
playthrough.
yeah, but even that, I mean, that's not too bad. You know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things. I mean, 60 hours is a lot, but like, yeah. What is Doodle Mafia Crime City?
Um,
The bottom there?
I can't remember what that was. You have Doodle God. Have you ever seen that?
Mm-mm.
Where it's like the element combining game. It was on mobile and then they ported it to everything else. And I think that's like a spin-off, but you're building like a crime thing. It's like a merge thing. I don't know, it's kind of
Okay.
therapeutic. You start off with like rock, water, fire, and then when you combine them, you get like lava and stuff like that. And then you basically combine everything and you get everything in the universe eventually.
Huh. Okay.
So it's kind of like a puzzle game.
Dragon Age 2, you're a big Dragon Age 2 defender.
I am. Yeah,
4.5.
I
It does
am.
have a great story.
Um, I also think it's just it's funny because we've just obviously come off the back of like explaining how we feel about underrated stuff and
Uh-huh.
overrated. It I don't know why people have such an aversion to playing an RPG where a character's pre-written most of the way for you. Like you can choose what Hawk does, but Hawk exists.
Yeah.
It's not a create a character in like a vanilla sense. So I don't know. I actually kind of prefer this level of roleplay most of the time because I feel like it allows the story to be very precise in what they're trying to do because it gets really personal with that Arashok and stuff like that, and with the backstory around your family and stuff. So,
That was something I was thinking about with Kingdom Come 2, where it's like you don't get to make the most extravagant decisions like all the time. Like you're not constantly being hit with decisions to make, but it has such a concise narrative where it's like very specifically about Henry, very
hmm,
specifically about Hans, very specifically like it's very character driven. Whereas you can't really necessarily do that when your main protagonist doesn't have like a predefined personality.
yep, absolutely.
Let's see. Is Shadow the Tomb Raider your favorite Tomb Raider game? I think you said, did you say the
No,
second one? Yeah.
Rise of the Tomb Raider would be overall, but Shadow,
That
I
was
think, is
solid.
it falls into that same realm of like it got torn to shreds, and it kind of buried the series with that. Like
Yeah.
people clowned it, and it was just like, hey, what are you talking about? It's yeah, sure. It kind of got the same response that like RE3 remake got, except they kind of just continued on Capcom because they have realistic expectation.
But like, what is short? It says 18 hours and
No,
44
exactly.
minutes, and I see that you did a lot of stuff that like the average player probably wouldn't do in a single playthrough, but it's like still, man. I mean, I remember playing that game and I thought it was perfectly paced. Like I
Yeah,
thought it was what maybe it took me 10 hours, something like that, 12 hours to finish. Like that's perfect.
yeah. I think people just have this unrealistic expectation of bigger is better. If it's under 50 hours, it's not worth it. It's almost as if they need a dollar per hour to get like value out of it. And it's just like, what are you talking about?
And in what other medium does that exist? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like you go to a movie theater and watch Bad Boys 2. I bought two tickets to Bad Boys 2. I paid, let's see, $30 for both the tickets. By the time I sit down and I get two things of, two drinks, two popcorns, like, or whatever the hell you get, like you're in the hole for the same amount as a video game.
Mm.
And you're out of the theater in 3 hours. It's like, I yeah, I don't get it, man. 10 to 15 is perfect. Like right there, you see Sleeping Dogs, 15 hours and 59 minutes. Dude, that's an open world game with incredibly rich world building and detail and incredibly advanced combat mechanics. You can finish that game in fucking 15 hours. But like you can, I've played through it, I think 3 times at this point. I've probably put 50 hours in it, if not a little bit more. And like,
Mm.
I don't know. Yeah.
No, that it does. That feels good for an open world game as well. 15 hours. That's really good wrapping that up. Don't get me wrong, obviously I missed out on a ton of like side content. I
Yeah.
didn't touch any of the DLCs in that 15 hours. But
99.9% of people are going to play it just like you did.
yeah. And but then you think back of like, does that actually then, are we not giving that enough credit though as credence? Because clearly that didn't sell enough for them to continue on with
But guess who it didn't sell enough for? Square Enix.
it.
And it's like
Yeah.
immediately at that point, it's like, who the fuck
Okay.
even
Yeah,
knows,
you can
man?
throw that out the window. I forgot that they had their fingers in that. I should have guessed.
You know what's so crazy? I remember seeing that Final Fantasy 16 didn't sell well.
Yep.
I remember seeing that online. It sold 3
Rebirth,
million.
they said as
Yeah.
well.
But Final Fantasy 16, I remember sold 3 million copies in its first week. Bro, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is like they are having fucking rooftop parties because they just sold 2 million copies. It's like you guys got to get your shit together because for one, your game doesn't have going what Kingdom Come 2 has going. And they made that thing in with 40 million dollars and they're celebrating that 2 million sales mark. You should be doing the same. You should be celebrating when Final Fantasy 16 sells 2 million copies. I understand that they it's a lot more expensive to create games in Japan opposed to where is Warhorse Studios? They're
They would
I
be
mean,
somewhere in Eastern Europe. It might be the Czech Republic, maybe
yeah, something like
something
that.
around
So
there.
I know it's easier for them to create games on a budget than something like a Final Fantasy 16, but it's still like creating games on a budget in Japan compared to America. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like Dragon Age the Veilguard could have sold 40 million copies and they wouldn't have made their money back. You know what I mean? Like it's yeah, I don't know. Square Enix just always has these crazy
Yeah,
expectations.
it's very weird. They kind of remind me, and if this offends people, come at me. They a lot how people perceive like America and stuff of like where say like the Super Bowl and stuff like that. It's not played anywhere else, but it's held in such high regard as if it's the most watched sport on the planet. When you compare that to say like the actual like football World Cup, it pales in comparison to the point where it's like a little league game. And I think that's kind of how Square view their games. They're like, well, it's got an RPG tag and we sell like hot cakes in like Japan, we dominate why aren't we going anywhere else? And it's like, well, because there's not that much of a drive as you think there is. Like in America, they would rather play The Witcher over Final Fantasy. It's just a fact.
Well, I mean, those games are just like I I'm not trying to be dismissive, but it's like, dude, Final Fantasy isn't it doesn't have that anymore. Like it's not the game like it was in the PS1 era when there was no competition. Like people can go in and play as Geralt and make all these, different decisions and do all this crazy shit and engage in combat. Like you're just getting the one part.
Yeah, it's crazy. I do give. I mean, I even gave it a 4.5. That's very generous for Skyrim, considering how much smack I talk about
Oh man, I mean that's a 4.5 though. You can't.
it.
Yeah, that game's incredible.
And so yeah, during this time it was mainly 360 games, as you can see, dabbling in and then wrapping up series. Something you'll rarely see me do as well, just to quickly highlight this. I rarely play things back to back to back in a series. I never usually clear a series in one sitting.
Mm,
The Banner Saga was just
so good.
555. Couldn't 666 if we could.
Dude, I saw uh Towerborn. I saw gameplay for Towerborn circulating on Twitter today, their next game. And I was like, God, that thing looks way better than I thought. Like it looks really, really unique, man.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
hoping it
excited for
slam
that.
dunks.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much time you put into Dark Souls. It's such a big game. It's absurd. Actually, I will
Yeah.
change this to a 5 star because I had the other one at 4.5, and it is my favorite.
They're all so close, in
Yep.
my opinion. You know what I mean? Like it's yeah. It's just so it's iterative. That's kind of the thing we talk about all the time with like, the Yakuza games or whatever the case may be. It's like it's kind of hard to rank one so much higher than the other unless you just really love the story for one over the other.
Yep. As you can see, I did try Hellblade. It did not
Yeah.
click.
That was what I did the first time I played it as well. I played it for about an hour and I was like, what are these puzzles?
I was like, what is this game? Where is the game?
It was just stunning. I could not believe how bad those puzzles were designed and how repetitive they were. It was so boring, man. That Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale game never gets talked about a lot, and it's pretty fucking solid. It's not bad at
They
all.
only got one season, right? They
Yep.
never followed it up.
Mm-hmm.
Really unfortunate,
Yeah.
considering how red hot the Guardians of the Galaxy IP was. You'd think, like, dude, if Gearbox pick up their Borderlands Telltale game to make their own, like, why didn't Marvel pick up? Like, surely you could have continued on with that. Such a
Yeah.
red hot IP.
I mean, that Tales from the Borderlands game is so good, dude.
Yeah.
Telltale, I mean, I know they're not, it's not the same anymore, but when they were at their peak, they had some really good writers on staff.
Mm.
Really good writers.
Out of curiosity, because obviously I think you played the original Metal Gears. Did you ever play Survive?
I don't think so. I played the wait, is that the one that came out like right before 5? No, that was
No, that was Ground Zeroes.
Ground Zero. I played that.
This was after Kojima left. They went and made a zombie survival game kind of
Right,
thing,
right,
and
right,
it
right, right,
like
right, right.
pissed a lot of people off. I
Was it
really want
awful?
to actually. I don't know. I don't know. This is the thing. Like that's why I'm in like the freestyle thing. I like elements of it, but I just don't like survival games. But there were
I
some
don't
cool
either.
things that were going on there. It was like fairly trimmed budget in comparison. And it's kind of that thing where I think a lot of people throw shade because Kojima's not on it. Don't get me wrong, it's not an amazing
Yeah,
game. It's not an amazing game at all. But there were some elements where it's like, look, man, he's not at the company anymore. You need to kind of get over that.
I agree.
Why not let them explore different things? Metal Gear doesn't have to just be one thing because it's never been one thing. That's the beauty of it is that it's evolved over time. So why are you so angry that they're trying something? You
Yeah.
know?
I think we have to understand, like, at a certain point that these things aren't someone's. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like Metal Gear is not, that is not Kojima's. Mass Effect is not Drew Karpyshyn's. fucking BioShock is not Ken Levine's. Like they work for a company. And sure, like in our perfect utopia, it would be Kojima's or it would be. But I don't even know about that because then again, like if it was just that individual person's, that's not accounting for the designers. That's not accounting for so like in a perfect world, it would specifically be all of these people's thing and they would share percentage control over it. And they would have to make collective decisions together, but that's not the way the world works. It is a company's thing. They employed the people, they worked on the game, they created it for the company. Now the company can go and do with it what they please. It's like uh, and the fan also that's the beauty of the internet is like we can have whatever response we want to have. If your game fucking sucks, it sucks. But I think we should also give a little bit of room for the potential of maybe this is actually okay.
Hmm?
Like
No,
maybe Metal Gear
exactly.
Solid 6 comes out and it's decent.
Yeah. No, I'm behind. Like, there's so many people that have written it off because he's not there, and that was well, it's not going to be a Metal Gear, and it's like, well, why isn't it? It it can still be a stealth game. It just may lack elements of being able to predict what happens 25 years in the future. That's that's it. And also, let's be honest, the writing's never been the actual context has been really good, like the internet thing, but the actual delivery of lines has never been like 10 out of 10.
Right.
The
It's
writing
yeah.
itself from the characters, like I wouldn't say Snake is an expressive
No.
person. He's just a gravelly voiced guy. So yeah,
Metal Gear. Yeah,
exactly. That's
it's
it. That's the that's the beginning and end of it. It's just like he's a cool character, but I don't think that.
but I do understand like yeah, a part of Metal Gear is the level of like Kojima does have a perfect whatever his writing style is so Metal Gear. Like it just fits so well into that crazy ass universe that he created. But the thing I will say, it's very interesting how some that same treatment. So it's not like this equal playing field in terms of people caring about the original creator. Because like David Jaffe, whenever the 2018 God of War came out, nobody was saying like, "Oh, Sony shouldn't do that because David Jaffe's not involved." David Jaffe created God of War,
Mm.
created Kratos, but like he wasn't involved at all in the reboot of it, and the reboot was incredible. But like imagine if people were outraged saying, "Well, if he's not involved, we don't want it." Then you don't ever get this new badass series.
Well, because the thing I've always had, and because what I'm thinking of is like the Callisto thing.
Right.
I've seen this time and time again, and like I jokingly rip it. It's a fun game. It is just a shit experience for me with the circumstances. But this is why I put no credence into the name of a person.
Right.
I have no. It just doesn't. I don't view it that way. It's a new game. When people were turning around going, "Oh, this is the thing," like people were disappointed because it wasn't Dead Space, and it's like, no, of course it isn't, because he's moved away from that. And what you need to understand is even if it's his conceptual idea, you still had every other person in that room that's designing it with him that had an influence on that, that never get their names uttered.
Yep.
It's just him, Glenn Schofield. That is it. That's all that. So he's the only person that wrote everything in Dead Space, is it? Because I would say that that Dead Space reboot thing did some things better than what
Oh,
he
no
did when he
doubt.
was there. And
No
it's that
doubt.
thing of like, we need to like stop idolizing people so hard. Like you can be fans of their work,
For sure.
but you can't turn around and then gatekeep somebody from continuing that torch because that's insanity
Yeah.
doing that. It's crazy.
Well, and it's like, you look at that Mind's Eye game that's coming from Leslie Benzies, who is like, I mean, one of the all-time names in the industry from the Grand Theft Auto days. But let's be real. There's a chance that Mind's Eye game could be dog shit.
Hmm?
That Exodus game that's coming from some of the premier talent from Mass Effect.
Yep.
That game
Judas
could be dog shit.
Judas
Judas
could
could be
bomb.
dog shit. We
Yeah.
have no idea. I don't think some of them definitely I think will be great, and some of them won't be. The Arkham, the Rocksteady talent, they created that 100 Hero studio. Their new game could suck. Like we have no idea. And the studios, the you see also on the other end, the studios whenever that talent leaves, a lot of the time the games without the key talent kind of fucking sucks. But sometimes it doesn't. We have to just keep an open mind to all the different possibilities and not go in with like these predetermined outcomes and creating outcomes before the outcome gets its natural chance to create itself.
You never played The Witcher 2, did you?
No, I so you remember The Witcher 1 got announced to be remade,
Yeah.
right? My whole thing was I'm gonna wait, play The Witcher 1, the remake, because I was thinking, oh, well, that'll probably come out in like 2025. And then they'll put out The Witcher 4 in like 2027. But yeah, now I'm fully aware that I probably just need to go back and play The Witcher 2 because The Witcher 1 remake probably isn't gonna be here till 2030.
How tolerant are you of like jank?
It depends. Like, there's different types of jank. There's the type of jank that is like, oh, this gameplay is dog shit and makes it miserable. And then there's the type of jank where it's like, yeah, okay, this is annoying that I had to reload a save from 10 minutes ago, but it's not gonna ruin my life.
Okay. Because the combat in it is an acquired taste, is what I'll
Oh
say. A lot
boy.
of people when they went back, when they kicked it off of The Witcher 3 and then went back to The Witcher 2, they just couldn't get past the prologue.
I will say I'm kind of weird when it comes to combat though. Like I heard everybody talk about how once again here comes Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I heard everybody talk about how brutal Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was. It's just like I breezed through that game. I never really found it to be it's not good combat, but it's not like hard at all. And so like there's certain I but then again you'll have like a Baldur's Gate 3 where I'm like I don't know what the fuck to do. So yeah, everybody individually is so weird, and I never hear anybody talk about Baldur's Gate 3 combat being difficult or anything. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I love it. I need to go back 100% Evil Within 2. Criminal.
Man,
Criminal. Such a good
actually,
game.
I just got into a comment section argument with somebody that was trying to call me a Sony shill, and because I was like talking about the potential of me buying the Days Gone remaster. And
Hmm.
they were like, if this was Microsoft or Nintendo, you would never be considering buying a remaster. I was like, yo, Nintendo remasters games all the time. The only reason you never hear me talk about it or complain about it is because I don't give a shit about the IP at all. I was like, if Microsoft wanted to remaster The Evil Within today, I would be buying that shit immediately to make sure we get The Evil Within 3. Like, it's I care about the IP. I'm not going out and you didn't see me go out and buy like Horizon, the remaster of Horizon. I love that IP, but I'm not worried about the future of Horizon. I know we're going to continue getting Horizon games. You know what I mean? So I don't feel like the necessity to support that in the way that I would Days Gone or The Evil Within.
Yeah. It is weird. The thing that kind of baffles me the most is the fact that they went so hard at turning around and being like, no, the series is cancelled. We're not doing anything with it. And now they've kind of had their little debacle and they're like, ah, no, but we'll remaster it. And it's just like,
Well, yeah, I think a
okay.
lot of that is that whole that live service direction. Once that failed, once that plummeted, I think it kind of became this thing of PlayStation really being like, yo, if we have anything, if we have anything that is even somewhat valuable, we need to fucking bank on that right now. Like it's just total desperation period for them.
This isn't even like a console wars thing. But that I'm annoyed on behalf of like Sony players
Yeah, oh,
because that's
it's
so
miserable.
disrespectful of being like, oh, we shifted 8 million copies, but we're not giving you a sequel to that game.
Yep.
And then basically going like, oh, we're losing heavily. Yeah, here's a carrot on a stick. And it's just like,
Yep.
I would be so pissed if Microsoft did that with like anything. If they turned
Yep.
around and like canceled something and then being like, we kind of need like a good W. Here's this again, even though we said we're never gonna touch it and we pushed that director out and everything. It's just yeah, I
Well,
don't
and
like that.
especially when the game's like a 7 out of 10. Like it wasn't like it was a 3. It was a 7. Like that's a good game, dude. Build off of it. Late Shift, the GOAT.
Yes, easy 100% as well.
Yeah. You do have to play it twice though, right? Because I didn't
I
get
don't know
a
if it was
trophy.
twice. I think it's multiple times. You're just doing all the different endings. There's a bunch of endings that can be done in like 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's a really short thing, like 3 hours. Did it all in one evening.
That game's so good. Or that
Kingdoms of
movie game, whatever.
Amalur.
Yeah.
Underrated. Rise, Son
Rise
of
Son of
Rome.
Rome is underrated. I agree. I agree with that. It's because I remember that got hit with that 900p debacle. You remember that? Where it was like people were outraged that it wasn't running at like full 1080 or whatever the case may be. And I was like, dude, who gives a shit? The game looks great. Why are we counting like why are we doing the frame counting and the pixel counting and the like if it I understand to a certain degree. Like if you're running something at 12 frames per second, yes, that's an abomination.
Hmm.
But like if you got a clean 30,
You
why
couldn't
do we
tell. This is the thing, unless someone told you. That's what annoys me. Unless you're like the
exactly.
tech whiz and you do the tests yourself, then yeah, of course, then you know that information. But if someone put the control in your hand and was like, "Go play Rise, Son of Rome," you wouldn't know, and that's
Totally.
what bugs me the most about it. Because it's like, as well, like your console players, for Christ's sake, why are you getting so snobby over it? Where's
Right,
this like
right.
entitlement come from? You know,
I
last
agree,
gen
dude.
games look like shit, and we played them. Because something that made me laugh is that when they went and backwards compatted the 360 Call of Duty games, me and a bunch of friends were like, "Yeah, let's relive their moments and stuff." The amount of shit that we put up with of peer-to-peer like things where it would migrate host and how laggy it
Right.
was, and it was just like you didn't even think about that back then because you were just having fun.
Well,
Everything's so serious now.
and it's like you said, dude, we're console players. Like we
We are peasants.
we are though. Like we and we I thought we all kind of knew that. I thought we all bought into a console because we get better games than the PC players. Like it's not that their games run way better. Like no doubt. Well, whenever they're optimized for
Yeah, I was about to
it.
say not anymore. They
That's
don't.
yeah. And that is very true. But like whenever you're playing a PC game that is optimized for PC, you're getting the 8K and the 120 frames
Yeah.
and the unlocked frame, like all of that. But I thought the reason that we bought consoles is for Mario and for God of War and for Halo. And like that was the whole idea to me. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I never bought it to count a fucking frame.
Me neither. It's only when it's like you said when it's noticeable. Because even like a good example, two worlds and stuff. People shouldn't let that stuff slide. I let it slide because I have a tolerance for that because it's
Right.
Eurojank stuff. It's like, man, I can see the charm. They just don't know how to make games. But that shouldn't be the standard. We shouldn't
Yeah.
accept that. We shouldn't just be like, yeah, well, all games. No, like they're just crap at making games. It's just as simple as that.
Damn, it only took you 9 hours to beat Metro Exodus or Metro Redux.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised you bounced out so quick. These games are really short.
Like I'm halfway through it then. I need to go and just finish that.
That's why I was like kind of surprised because you was saying that what was it? Yeah, Metro Exodus is the open world one. Metro Exodus is
Hmm.
a hell of a long game. Like you're talking like 25 hours for that. Whereas the Metro 2033 and Last Light are like sub 10-hour completions.
Damn, I need to finish that then because I'm probably halfway through it.
Hmm, that's pretty good. I want to rant about this quickly, Mad Max. Why the hell did this have an online achievement in a single player only game?
What was
Prevents
the
me.
achievement?
It was bundled in with a bunch of other stuff. You had in-game challenges, right?
Oh
And
man.
in their infinite wisdom, they had a daily login bonus for Scrap, and you needed to log in for a week. So 7 separate days, and I didn't do that. And now I'm
God.
fucked out of it. It's so stupid. So annoying.
I will say though, I get that that's annoying. That team is really underrated.
Yeah.
really, really underrated.
I love the
And
game.
it's all their games are
Mm.
good, man. And it's such a bummer that like we don't know yet, so I don't want to judge because it might be this thing that's multiplayer and single player and kind of, the best of both worlds, hopefully. But like the idea that that team, the Just Cause and Mad Max guys, are off working on like a live service game potentially is so sad. So damn sad.
Yeah, it it really is. But then I think back of like how meh Just Cause 4 was received. And it's kind of like, damn, the moment in this industry, the way it's set up right now, the moment you kind of fumble something,
Yep, you're
you
back to the
just get
live
kicked.
service.
Yeah, you just get kicked. And it's just like, that's so unfortunate, man. That's so unfortunate. Nothing particularly interesting here. This is where you can see like things had slowed down because a lot of the games that I would have been playing around this time have been bumped up the list because the moment you unlock an achievement, it obviously moves it
Mm,
forward. So all this
right, right,
is
right.
the kind of stuff that falls to the bottom of the barrel.
I like those back in the PlayStation 1, I liked those like board game style games and like trivia style games and shit. I used to
Yeah,
play
we
those a lot back in the day.
we had a, as you can see, it was only about 2 nights of it, but we played
Hmm.
a ton of Monopoly. Um, I wish more kind of got ported to consoles, but they don't really do well. So
They're so chill though. It is nice. The Technomancer, the goat,
yeah, when I
the
want to go
goat.
back and hey man, it's 4.5 is the GOAT.
It is
Spiders,
cool.
baby.
I never finished that game. I probably put about 10 hours into it and I was like, oof, there were certain parts where I was like, oh my God, man, this thing is busted. But boy, I remember playing it and right after I like booted it up, a couple hours into it, I was like, dude, we need to get uh Saber. We need to get Saber on the phone with Spiders and have them contract KOTOR out to Spiders because there's some shit in the Technomancer where it's like,
Mm,
dude, that would be so cool in a KOTOR game.
no,
So
yeah.
cool.
Um, the reason I hold, I guess, like this will be the perfect time as we're highlighting it. The reason I hold them so highly is I don't know what it is that scratches my itch on like a game. When they write like a lore and they kind of believe in it themselves, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. Like they actually believe that this world is believable. I don't know how
Yeah.
else to like explain that. Like they're invested in the story they've written, even if it is a crappy game to most people, is what I'm saying. Like perceive, like it's like, oh, this is kind of meh. Because like you said, you got to like the 10 hour mark and you kind of bounced back. I was actually invested. Got to like the final thing, the story climax thing, and it was just like, oh, that's a kind of cool twist. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's sincere. Like they make sincere games. Like they don't it's not this super tongue in cheek like they're really like you said, they're bought into those worlds.
Yep.
Even like Project Mars, as
Yeah.
batshit as that was, like they're really trying, man. They're really, really trying.
Oh man, I love the Adventures of Van Helsing games. Very good Diablo clones.
Dude, I
Was up.
remember the that makes me think of that cover makes me think of Dark Watch on the original Xbox PS2.
Oh, what the Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing?
Yes,
Yeah.
I saw that cover with the silhouette of the dude in the cowboy hat. I was like, "Oh man, I miss that shit."
Yeah. I don't think you're not really a Diablo like player, are you? They don't really do much for you.
The closest I really got was like Ultimate Alliance,
Yeah.
which, you know,
Yep, that's
damn.
what dedicated. We were there day one, and I would probably say up until maybe a year before I began like talking to you. This was like that game that was just what all the friend group played together. Um, and then
1800.
Ubisoft just for me, it was me putting my foot down. I think we would still probably be playing it, but it was that kind of thing of like I'm usually the one to like steer. Not saying that I'd choose what everybody plays, but like usually having a deeper knowledge than everybody else can kind of usually suss out what people, oh, you what do you fancy? And I can
Right.
usually like pinpoint a game that would like strike that. And just Ubisoft were nickeling and diming us. And it was like, dude, we've paid full price for your game, which was broken, might I add, at launch. We supported you with season pass, season pass, season pass, season pass. And then you turn around and go, okay, we want extra skins on top of that. And then we want pro skins on top of that. And then we want elite skins on top of that. And then we want a battle pass on top of our season pass. And then they just kept getting worse and worse. And it was just like, yeah, there's a line that, I will support what your vision is until you want me to spend like $400 a year on this. This is absurd. So we
You
just
know,
walked.
there's an interesting thread that they're trying to walk where it's like, do you think that companies who make games like that, because I remember EA, they separated themselves from like the sports side where they have like two companies now. And I feel like that's kind of smart in a way where like anything where you're going to be predatory to your player, you probably don't want that to be reflected in your single player games that you want people to buy for a premium price and you want people to like, because with the predatory games, it's not really about critical acclaim. Whereas with single player games, like if Assassin's Creed Shadows isn't a 8 out of 10, that thing's probably not going to sell like it would have if it was an 8 or 9 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like you really do need good games to sell single player. Whereas with multiplayer, it's not so much about the quality of the game as it is about getting its hooks in you and keeping you there.
Yeah, I think that's run dry the these past few years because when this dropped, this was 2015, so this
Mm.
was essentially a launch title. Within that time frame of like the few years when the Xbox One was still trying to find its feet,
Right.
and this was the first like console CS:GO like alternative,
No.
and that's kind of where we kind of gave it its like benefit of the doubt because it was like we can see what your vision is, and then they just lost it because it started to gain popularity. It was weird because when it was niche, it had soul, and then the moment it became popular, it lost that soul because it just became chase whatever you can to make the most amount of money.
Yeah.
So
Wait, have you never like really dove into Beyond Good and Evil?
no,
Oh, dude.
no, and I'm sorry because where is it on the list?
It
There it
is
is.
right below
So
Peggle, yeah.
yeah, so I tried that HD version, which is that's the 360 port,
Mhm.
and was like, it's okay, and just never like went back to it. And then they announced that obviously it was getting the re-release, and I was like, man, people talk about this so highly. I need to like just give it a go. I don't know, it just doesn't click with me. I don't
Bro,
know what it
one
is.
day
Like what part is where it like picks up? Because is it for you when your feeling for the game? Was you like invested from the beginning, or did you have to
no.
break? Okay, then that
It's
makes sense.
rough.
Because
It
I was
starts
doing that
off
opening
really
thing, and I was
boring.
like, this is boring as hell. What the
Yeah.
hell?
It starts off really boring. Did you get your boat yet?
No.
Okay, once you get your boat, everything changes because you now have access to you have access to a small open world. And
Okay.
there's cool like you can go off into this little district and play like air hockey with people. You can go play like little magic games. You can go and do like you can engage in chases. There's moments in the game where you'll have to go through and be stealthy and then that'll turn into this like big action scene chase as you're like you're jumping off of a roof while the building explodes or whatever the case. So, dude, that game, I don't want to
How
spoil
long?
what,
How long does it take to get into that though?
oh, like an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 30 minutes, if that. Once you finish
Okay.
that first boss fight, you get your boat right after that. So you'll go into that cave, you'll finish that little boss fight, and then I think you got to go and get a part, and then you give the part to the dude, and he fixes up your boat, and you're able to go and actually travel the world.
I'm making a habit of this, but okay, I'll check it out again. I'll give it one last shot. I'll do the Sekiro thing of where Because if you're speaking that highly of it, man, clearly I'm missing something.
It's
Because
my
we do
favorite Ubisoft game ever. I
more
think
than more than Odyssey.
it's probably my top 5 PlayStation 2 games ever.
Holy shit.
I
Okay. Yeah,
love
okay.
that
I
thing.
need to like give it I'll give it 5 hours this
And
time and I'll
I don't
push
want to
through it.
I don't want to tell you anything about the story because like that's the shit where it's like I don't even want to like allude to anything. It is wild where that story goes. Yeah, that is a really really cool game, man. But it's the thing where 2025 is so packed. I would say wait for you legitimately like wait for a year where it's just super slow. And because I hate recommending things to people whenever I know like right now if you recommended something to me and I'm looking at Yakuza and I'm looking at Monster Hunter and I'm looking at Split Fiction and I'm looking at
Oh,
Assassin's Creed
I've got
Shadows.
it to I'll add it to a list. It's fine. Because in the Discord people have been I think I've got 4 game suggestions.
Hmm,
Physical's been hammering on at me to try the Outer Wilds for like ever since he got in there. So that's tagged down there. So yeah, this will be added to the list.
yeah, it's really good, dude. But I like I was saying, I would legitimately I'm kind of to the point now where I am only playing what I want to play. Where I don't no offense to like any suggestions. I love getting a good suggestion from people, but you got to find the right time and place, the right mood. Because if I jump into, let's just say something like Metro Exodus right now, which I really want to play this year,
Hmm.
I'm jumping into it right before Avowed, or right, like say right after Avowed, right before Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's like that's a horrible fucking time to try to slot in Metro Exodus. Um, but I do want
Yeah.
to really play it bad.
It's weird, isn't it? It's we have such a luxury of choice, but at the same time, that's it hurts us at the same time because we have so much choice as well.
Oh yeah. First world problems. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's a wonderful problem to have. I never I try not to ever like actually get to the point where I'm going, "Oh, this is so overwhelming." It's like, no, it's fucking not at all. But you do have to hit that point where you're like, yeah, I gotta just pick and choose better. Tales from the Borderlands, GOAT.
Yeah, this was yeah, 2015, 2016. So this was when Xbox didn't have any games, everybody. So you're kind of just bouncing around trying stuff. Also, you a fan of Sunset Overdrive?
Oh yeah. I didn't finish it, but that game I love 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 the idea of that game so much.
Never
Maybe
really clicked with me.
and I should say I love the idea of that game more than I love the execution of the game, but the
Mm,
idea is so fucking interesting. Tony Hawk meets third person shooter like yeah, dude.
yep, absolutely. So as you can see, there's not all that many like big hitters here, and a lot of the time frames are a lot more smaller
Hmm.
because this would have been when I was at college.
Okay, yeah.
Um, so yeah, and then we're moving on to like the 360, where I was like crossing between, where I had both of them.
Right, yeah.
Um,
So this would be
Dude,
like 2013.
Spartacus Legends. Did you ever play that? Probably not.
Mm-mm.
Such
No.
a cool thing. The TV show came out and they made like a what's like a 3D fighter where it's not like Mortal Kombat where it's side by side. You can kind of move around like that.
Nice.
It was kind of like that, but as a gladiator thing, and it was really, really well done.
I actually just played through Far Cry 4. I saw that
Oh,
on your
nice.
list. I just played through that last month.
How good was it in like how many Far Cry games have you finished?
All of them. No, actually, there's quite a few I haven't finished. I didn't finish 5. I didn't finish Primal. I didn't finish uh 1 or 2. So hell, I've only finished 3, 4, 6. I've
Dude, you
played all of
finished
them.
6?
Yeah. like fucking 60 hours.
Yeah, that's why it like shocks
That's what
me.
we're talking about.
Like,
Yeah.
holy crap.
Yeah.
Because
Sometimes,
it took me 3 attempts to do that. Because I played it at launch and I was like, man, this is a slog.
yes,
And I
it
played it
is.
again and I was like, man, this is one hell of a slog. And then a friend was like, how about we co-op it? And I was like, okay. And then we just blitzed through. We didn't do any side content because I'm not doing like yeah, blow up these 150 signs. I'm good, Ubisoft. Like I've done enough of that in my life for now. Like
Yeah.
you really don't need that out of me.
Yeah. I played through the whole damn thing in one go. Like just one like, month period or whatever, and just
Hats off
happily
to you.
checking off my little Far Cry boxes. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I just really get in a Far Cry zone. I played 3 and 4 back to back recently. And it's like, why play 3 and 4 when you've already played and finished both of those? Why not go play, play through 2 or play through 5 or but I'm a weirdo.
I think it's also good to balance comfort as well, though, because I've heard that, like, for instance, like Far Cry 2 is meant to be held really high in regard, but I've also heard it's extremely frustrating in parts.
I have to.
So it's like it's a worry that it's so weird because you can just jump out of it. But I don't know that holds something over me where it's like, what if I go in and I like don't like it? I kind of like having that like nugget and that carrot on the stick of like, it's there in the future if I want it, more than
Yeah.
like going in and like ruining it. That illusion, if that makes sense.
Well, and it's also the thing where it's like, what if it takes you 5 hours to realize you don't really like it? And then you're like,
Mm,
well, I only have another 10 hours to go. Might as you get into that thing. But it is I've realized the comfort food thing is something that is actually important to your gaming kind of dish, your gaming meal. It's like if I'm going to be jumping into Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and playing that for 50 hours, then it's like, yeah, let's take 20 hours to play some sports games and some
mm,
Far Cries and some like let's chill a little bit. And not that Kingdom Come isn't chill. Kingdom Come's fairly chill as well, but it's like it's a it's an uncomfortable experience. Like I think they intentionally designed the game to where it's
yeah,
something that you're not gonna be. It's not a game you ever like really lock into. They want you to be a little bit on edge.
yeah. Something I noticed as well, flicking through obviously this list, I hadn't really given it much thought. How much? Because I kind of I dig out remasters, but the first time that they got a remaster from 360 to like the Xbox One, for instance, I utilize that a lot because I'm looking back at this and I'm like, I never finished Arkham Asylum. I never did like either of the Metro games. How important it was that they got a re-release for me to experience that
Yeah.
and not be locked on that system.
Well, yeah. And I think that, as much as myself and you and people who are in our community because we're so fucking nerdy, like we have to realize that 90% of people aren't playing games the way we are. And they're going to scroll through the PlayStation store and see the Arkham collection or whatever. And it's like, oh, damn, I've never played these. I'd like to play a Batman game. And it's just a new way for them to play that. It's really, yeah. From our standpoint, from an optical standpoint, PlayStation looks like it's so embarrassing. But from a very casual consumer standpoint, they're just going to jump into they're going to jump into God of War PS5 and not think anything of it.
As I love playing Devil's Advocate so much. Uh, I think the thing that annoys me with them doing it now, though, and what was different in this scenario is that there wasn't any backwards compatibility at that time
True.
from 360 to thingy. So these games, it's not like these games are inaccessible. That's why I was able to get like another stab at it because I didn't have my 360 at that time, so I lost
W-
all of that content technically for that period of time.
Oh,
So that was
okay.
the only way for me to do that. Whereas now, when you think about it, they gave Days Gone away in like PS Plus. Most people have that game digitally. is there really that much of a yearning to have a remaster again?
But technically, you could play Arkham Asylum and Arkham City if you had the 360 disc and you put it into your Xbox One, right?
Not at this, not at this time, because this was 2015.
Oh, they hadn't launched the
They
full
hadn't
backwards
launched backwards
compatibility.
compatibility
Right,
to like
right, 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 right,
2016,
right, 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 right.
2017.
Right.
So this is
Okay.
what I mean of that like mindset of that being completely different back then, where console manufacturers didn't embrace backwards compatibility. It was
Hmm.
you buy a new console and you buy your whole library again, whatever we choose to put on that. And that was like the big shift towards the end of this generation, was forcing Sony's hand to do that. But they kind of still do that now. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like it just it from an optical standpoint, it's just embarrassing. Like it just looks embarrassing. But I I think the same thing kind of is still true though, where it's like the casual fan just
Hmm.
doesn't even know about the optical hurdle that PS5 is facing right now. The optical, the casual fan is one of the 75 million people who bought it, who isn't the 10,000 people that, frequent our page and
Yeah.
different YouTube channels and like you know what I'm saying? Like we have such a niche within a niche community and we're a niche within a niche perspective because we're playing everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like most people are playing one or two games a year. That's the casual gamer. And they make up so much more of this market than we ever will, which is a good thing. We
Yeah.
really don't need a bunch of us, honestly.
No, we take it way too seriously. It would be a very
Yeah.
draining hobby if everybody, God, 76 million people all
Oh my
shouting at
God.
each other. Yeah, I don't want that. Thank
We'd
you.
be rich as fuck though. The we'd be so loaded. The if it was 76 hardcore ass people who were looking for nerdy ass content like this, not saying this specifically, but just like the nerdy shit that we create on a daily basis, it's like, man, that would be wonderful if people were looking for that stuff.
Boy, how things would be different.
We'd be sitting on thrones instead of broken ass chairs.
But yeah, I was gonna say embarrassed, but I don't think that's the correct term. But like that's the closest thing I can. Like, I really just didn't finish things back in the day. Like from here, like 2011 and stuff to 2014. It's just like a dip in. Like it was so bordering on casual because I ended up getting sucked in with like Mass Effect,
Balloon.
and then just
None of
no.
that shit's casual.
Is none of it? It feels
None
it
of it,
feels
dude.
like it, but what I mean is like not finishing any of it though. Like dipping into Darksiders 2 and that's like the equivalent of like 2 hours.
The casual person doesn't even know what a Darksiders 2 is.
Oh, but
The
I didn't
cav
buy these either. These are things that are given to you for free. These are like games with
Oh,
gold.
okay.
So these aren't
Okay.
things I've gone out and bought
I got you.
because they
Red
gave
Faction,
sleeping
the casual game.
Battle Block Theater, of course.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying though, but like I think you also have to keep in mind in 2000 and this would have been 2014, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that would have been the
Or
last unlocks so far.
yeah. So like you were still in fucking high school,
Yeah,
you
last year.
know? Yeah. It's like I don't know, dude. Yeah. I, nobody eh, nobody is in high school playing Dead Island Riptide. Oh
Oh, such a
man.
nerd. Still am. Ah, such a simpler time looking back.
Yeah.
Actually, like, I want to say this as well. I don't know if when did you like jump onto YouTube and like genuinely like absorb yourself in that space? Because for something like, because I remember hearing like people thought this game was terrible, and
Oh, me
right in
too.
here for 2014, I didn't tune into online thing. I just enjoyed game, and it was so much nicer in so many
Yes.
ways of just being able to pick out a game and just be like, man, I enjoyed that. But then I think
Well,
of
that
like the counter to that is I don't get to share that in that.
Yep.
sense. I never got to share them thoughts with other like-minded people. It was always just kept to myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because like they're so I probably got into the YouTube side of things, like watching videos and shit, probably with like a Metal Jesus video or something, I would
Mm,
assume would have been like really one of the first things that got me into it. Um, and I know Game Informer podcast was really early on as well. I don't know if that would have been before or after Metal Jesus, but I remember like, reading because I got the magazines with my GameStop subscription, and I would read in the magazines like Game Informer's top 10 games of 2017 or whatever, and it's like and they'll plug their podcast in the magazine. So I ended up like going and checking that out. And so I've watched every episode of the Game Informer show from like the first one that was ever on YouTube to the last one that was ever on YouTube. Oh, well, hold on. I watched every episode from 2015 till Ben Hansen and them left, whenever that would have been. That would have been like 2019. And then I still frequented the show from 2020 to 2024 when they ended up closing down, or from
yeah.
2020 to 2024. So like that was probably the real investment that I had in it. But um, yeah, I didn't really get absorbed into YouTube until probably honestly like I know this is gonna sound crazy, but maybe like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, while I was already on YouTube. Because like whenever I wasn't on YouTube, my only thought was to watch like the handful of people like the, MinMax and
Mm,
Metal Jesus and Radical Reggie, like the handful of people that just popped up in my algorithm. I never searched for it. But then when I got into YouTube and I'm like, okay, I'm putting up a state of play predictions, let me type in state of play predictions. And it's like, oh, okay, well there's kind of funny. There's Easy Allies. Let me click on their thing. And then like, okay, I'm into their thing now. And so like I didn't really know anything about like a Colin Moriarty or a Greg Miller or any of those people until I was already like on YouTube. It's kind of weird, but yeah.
yeah, I think again as well is how you consume it as well, because a lot of the people that you list names of as well, because I don't consume it in that way. I don't watch them podcasts.
Oh, really?
No. For me, I prefer to read articles if I'm going to do anything.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how I get the information a lot of the time. And if I'm watching a video, it's usually something that's like entertaining and stuff. And that's why, like, not obviously in the most respectful sense, I don't think I would have searched like for your channel specifically back then.
No, yeah.
It was just auto rolling. It's that kind of like lightning in a bottle like thing, and it's just like, oh, I do actually like this kind of stuff, but I wouldn't have found that on my own. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people probably would feel that way. Of like, you don't probably actively search for it; it just falls into your lap, and you're like, oh, like actual like analytical shit.
Yeah.
Duh, you like you like achievements,
It's
you like looking at
achievements and
things, and you like you know digging deep. Why didn't you? And you just because I just never pieced it together to like think about that.
right. Well, yeah, because like for me, I should have shouted out Happy Console Gamer. That was another one. Him and Metal Jesus that just fell into my YouTube feed. And like I actually had to go and search out Game Informer because I saw it in the magazine, so I had to type it in the YouTube thing, and like so that was that. And then I'm sure, like I remember hearing Game Informer talk about Easy Allies and different people on there, and I remember all that stuff, but like yeah, I'm the same as you. Sure, I hear about it, I hear you talk about these people, but I never like think to go the extra step to search for it.
Mm,
I'm just listening to y'all because like now y'all are in my rotation.
yeah.
It is a yeah, and that's something that maybe I need to think about more is like how do we become more in the rotation opposed to like searchable? Because everything that has ever popped off for unnecessary rambling has been through people searching for it. There's never been like any video that's really took off through because you can see all that back end data
Yeah.
through recommendations.
It's unfortunate because a lot of it is usually the controversial stuff, and
Yeah.
it's like you don't want to brand yourself as another one of them though at the same time,
Nope.
because then once you've that's it sticks. And
Yeah.
it's so hard to get off because then they will come to the channel and they'll be like, "Well, why aren't you touching on this outrage? Why aren't you? Uh, you're a shill. You protect it. You like it. Oh my god!" And then it just spiraled, and it's just like, my god.
I think the thing I'm the most proud of is for an account with 2,000 subscribers, we get like typically 500 views per video, no matter what the fuck we're talking about. Like that is crazy, dude. I don't think like I don't think that's typical at all. And like I, I think it is about having respect for your community and your community having respect for you. You know what I mean? Like I don't think you can build you don't want to build a house on sand. You know
No.
what I mean? You don't want to build any foundation on something that's slippery like outrage. And the biggest video I ever did on the channel was probably Xbox is killing Xbox. And
Yeah.
that is one that actually got sent out through YouTube recommendations through all of that. And it's like, do you know? Yeah, a part of me is every time every time Xbox slips up, it's like this would be an easy another addition to the Xbox is killing Xbox. But like, what if I don't really believe it? When I made that video, I believed that
Yeah.
shit to my core.
Yeah.
It was right after Indiana Jones got announced for the release date for Xbox was announced, and then right after on the fucking biggest stage of the summer, it was the PS5 logo was shown, and I'm like, dude, you're killing yourself. Like that was the whole point. But it's I feel like I'll make videos like that. No doubt. I'll continue to make videos where I'm fucking outraged about shit and mad about
Yeah.
shit because I get mad about shit, but I'm not going to force myself into anger that I don't actually have.
Right. And that's what you said. Having respect for your viewership. And I
Yep.
think they have that mutually for both you and I because they know by now that they've, like you said, 2,500 a lot of the time tune in. There's the same 500.
Yeah.
And when we touch a topic that is outraged, there's no usually offense to that because they know that you're not jumping on that bandwagon. If you
Totally.
have something that you disagree with, that's your genuine thing because you've not sat there and picked apart every single misstep of Sony.
Absolutely.
And the same with Xbox and the same with Nintendo and stuff. Because funnily, the easiest thing that you could probably do, we both don't really care for Nintendo. You could so easily fast track on like a punching bag of just constantly beating Nintendo. But
I
it's
actually
just,
don't think so.
you don't think
Weirdly
so?
enough,
You don't
I
think so?
think you can only do that for PlayStation and Xbox.
Okay.
I don't think there's an audience who really wants to consume like anti-Nintendo content. And I don't think there's really necessarily a huge audience that wants to consume pro Nintendo content. I mean, the
They
only
just live in their
like,
bubble.
yeah, they just kind of play games where it's like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, yeah. And it's that perfectly just falls back to like you said, just playing games and being in your own bubble and just drawing it back to like people holding Fable 3 low,
Right, right, right.
Resident Evil 6 low, and then there's me
Yeah,
like rating it for dude, I loved these two games, man.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's Resident Evil 6 is such a weird one. I don't want to go into a full thing, but it's like when it came out, it was received fine. And then like revisionism is a motherfucker, man. Me and my buddy sat there, played through the whole thing in like 2 days. Loved that damn game. We
Yeah,
had a blast. Played it for like five
exactly.
hours a day.
It's fun.
Probably more than that.
Yeah, the Godfather game,
That's the go.
maybe.
Man, two is such a fall off in comparison. One is so much better than two, in my opinion. Two gets weird, and I appreciate some of the weirdness. Like, okay, go and get this guy, and he's able to detonate shit, and go and get this guy, and he's able to
Yeah.
cut the wires, and yeah.
I think what I appreciated more was the fact that they didn't like go with the canonical
True.
thing. They just were like, yeah, we'll take that like premise and we're just gonna go off the wall with it.
They did.
And it was just like, I like this. This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'd be if I'm being 100% honest, they're probably side by side for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, but yeah, just like as I said, as you can see, it just slowed down. Just
Hmm.
that was probably the first 100%.
That you ever got?
I think so.
Wow,
We're
that's so
two
sick.
pages from because that was
Two
the
pages from
remember
gold.
when I was talking about the tower defense. racing game,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
hybrid
yeah.
thing. That's what that was.
Bro, we need like a AAA racing renaissance. It's kind of crazy how.
It
Never
should
mind.
have been. It should have been this.
I could go on for hours about this, but
Yeah,
it is
how
kind of
did they
wild how
fumble
like
that?
it used to be so hot, man. It used to be such a hot genre.
I just don't. Yeah, it baffles me the fact
It
that
is.
probably the biggest amount of success is going to be them putting it on PlayStation, the Horizon 5, because it's the hottest racing IP. Because it's the only
Oh
thing
yeah.
that really exists, other than obviously, you have F1 every year. But even then, it's a stale franchise now.
Mm.
The same with Dirt. Like they're not seeing growth. It's
Gran
just they have,
Turismo as well.
yeah, they've stagnated. Even Forza, Motorsport,
Motorsport,
the
yeah.
actual simulation, they've all just stagnated. And the only thing that seems to be booming is Horizon whenever they come out with that. How long is that going to last? Till people get like, it's just another. Because that's a lot of people felt that with five.
Yeah.
When you've gone through 5 games of it, and it's different, but it's kind of the same stuff. So don't know how much longer they can ride that train.
So we're in 2010 now? Or
This would
2011?
be 2011 going into
Got you.
December 2010. So yeah,
Got you. Got you.
this was Snail's Pace.
Yeah. Now you're kind of looking casual. Right here is where it gets casual. When you go to FIFA '08, '09, Guitar Hero, Iron
Yeah.
Man, there you're starting. But then you go Juiced is in there,
See,
Lost
okay, no,
Planets
but
in
this
there,
is
Mercenaries.
this is the real end, I think, because these are 2023s. So these are 360 games that I think they freaked out where they put them on the leaderboard
Mm,
because these were all the ones. Because I didn't play this in 2016. That's not backwards compat. I definitely didn't play these two in 20. So these timestamps are
right.
wrong. But I remember I did Dungeons and Dragons Daggerdale when I moved, hence thingy. But yeah, this is just
Yeah.
kind of mixed up a bit. Dude, Juiced. Did you ever play that?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
What a
Absolutely.
game.
So colorful. So damn
So
colorful. I love.
interesting though as
Yeah.
well. Of like the DNA system.
Yeah.
Why did they never bring that back in like other games? Like you had the driver task stuff that they brought forward, but nothing compared to that DNA system. That was so cool. Pink slips
Yeah. Pink
as
slips.
well.
Yes, dude.
Just ooze that early 2000s vibe.
I'm gonna save it for a different video. I got a full rant that I'm ready for when we talk about open world games.
Back when UFC was good.
UFC Undisputed 2010 is still my favorite UFC game ever. I love that thing. Talking to Joe Rogan after the fights and doing the pre-fight press conferences and the post-fight press conferences and or it's actually the pre-fight weigh-ins and then the post-fight press conference and then the um predicting the fights and like there's some cool shit in that game.
I guess I kind of lied then because I forgot this game existed. This would have been the last WWE game that I played, and I played the hell out of this. So almost
That's
100%ed it.
that is so wild to me. I never really cared for that one.
Did you not?
Nuh-uh. But I didn't really give it necessarily a fair shake. I played the one on the original Xbox, but I don't know. That was on the 360, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I played that one.
Oh damn. What a 45th page. Just 2 games. Complete polar opposites of one another.
SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 and X-Men Origins Wolverine are fantastic games to end off on, though. I love those games. The GM mode in SmackDown vs. Raw '07 is like so fucking fun.
So this was you had a first person mode, right? That you'd walk around like a office. Which one was
Mm.
that?
I mean, I know that was like early SmackDown games, like that would have been Shut Your Mouth, I believe, where you could walk around backstage and you could go and get into fights and all that. but it might have
No,
been
not
where you
not
had.
back in like an office thing where you'd be able to customize, you'd be able to put like
Oh yeah, yeah,
glass
yeah. That was
tables
oh
down and
07.
stuff. That was so
Yep,
good.
yep,
That was so outrageously good of a game.
yep. Because you could go in and you could like look at your phone and read the
Yeah,
texts and all that. Yep, yep, yep.
back when it had personality, man.
Yeah. Hey man, I genuinely like I think these last ones are really really good. They went through a rough
Oh yeah.
patch from like 2K15 all the way up to 2K22 or so, but 23 and 24 were really really solid. Really solid.
I don't think I ever finished this.
Oh, really? That game is awesome.
Is there a story flag on it? Nope. Nope, I never finished this. And it's not back compatible.
You would dig that, man. That game is fucking awesome.
I remember
I
playing it and enjoying it. It's just that type of thing of like being whenever I don't think I'll have a timestamp of when it, yeah, unlocked offline. This was before I
mhm.
had like Xbox Live and like linking up to the network and stuff.
Well, yeah, that's just one of those games too, where it's like, the God of War style clones, where yeah, every now and then you just kind of get tired of them. Like they can
Yep.
get a little bit repetitive, but man, I loved that game.
And then just to conclude, obviously, started about 26 hours in.
Sheesh. Fuck yeah. I
That is a
can't
little bit
wait.
inflated. It's probably more along the line of like 18 hours.
Nice.
And I'm
Yeah,
enjoying it. Are you going to be
I,
jumping in straight away after this?
well, I got some shit I got to do for work, but after tonight, definitely I will be jumping into. I'll probably play hopefully from like 7 to 10 tonight. Um, I'm really, really eager to jump into this thing as soon as I
That's
wrap
so
up.
good to hear.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna love it because you love the Outer Worlds and you
I
seem to
love all their
love,
shit.
yeah. You also love like Bethesda RPGs and stuff.
Yeah,
So when we get to the talking, there's so many things I love about it. And then there's the other thing of like, man, if this was a Pillars game, like
yeah.
fully the amount of stuff that you could be doing. But yeah, I enjoy it. It's still a 5-star game for me.
I think you're gonna be happy, man. I think they're gonna return to Pillars in some capacity. I really do. I don't think she would have dropped that little nugget on the podcast for no
Yeah,
reason.
because they would
And
have just
like,
openly been like, nah, man, it's not
yeah,
happening.
which hey, I understand you don't want Baldur's Gate 3, but you better be thanking that damn Larian boy, because I don't think that any Pillars 3 would ever see the light of day without Baldur's Gate 3 success. So
No.
let's just hope that they can keep the DNA intact and all that.
Yep, that's right. Well, that was a hell of a juggernaut. Several videos in the making. We are
Yes,
done.
sir.
We will revisit these much later in the future, probably. Because what I was thinking, maybe I don't know, next gen probably
Yeah,
would probably
before
the best. Maybe do it every end of generation, just a quick run through. Because then we don't need to go through obviously all 45 pages. Because we've already covered that. It would just be the difference. So
yeah.
it'd be
I
much
like that a
quicker.
lot, Loon. I mean, you're presuming that I'll be alive for much longer
Yeah,
than
no, we got loads of games to play, man. You got to listen to me complain about how bad Beyond Good and Evil is.
Oh, don't do it to me. I
Yeah,
appreciate it, man. This is fun as hell.
yeah. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for joining me each of these, and we'll be seeing you very soon in something else.
Goodbye.
See you later.